recording. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 9 of the Winston Boys podcast, giving you philosophical debates to help you become more clever, knowledgeable, and wise. My name is Kush.
And my name is Alex, and today we have for you some different conversations about wealth, success, and how to use all that money that you make being so successful, right? Um,
Yeah.
all right, Kushaga, well, this is kind of your deal today, so take it away.
Yeah. We're now, I'm going to be selfish for this whole episode, basically. But I think so. So the first topic that we had, and Alex, correct me if I'm off of what you had in mind here. So what is wealth? So I think here we kind of just wanted to start out by defining like what wealth is and how to look at it. Is that what you had in mind also?
Yeah, I want to see what you think of what you think wealth is. Yeah, you kind of had an interesting perspective when I we kind of chatted a little bit beforehand, and I was really intrigued by Kushaga's perspective. And well, I'll let you tell it, but I'm really interested to hear because I think we definitely disagree on this, and I'm kind of excited about that
Yeah,
because
yeah,
sometimes
it's
we're gonna
it's
have the same viewpoint, which
yeah,
is
no, it's
frustrating
it's
in
funny.
a good
It's
way.
funny because it's almost shaping up like, like we play it like I'm the capitalist, Alex is the socialist, and the viewpoints that we have coming into this actually seem kind of flipped. So
Yeah,
very interesting. So I guess I'll go ahead and start, since this is my time to be selfish. Um, so I think that this is a take that's going to challenge a lot of people's worldviews. Um, I don't think that wealth I don't think that wealth is defined by how many things you have. I think it's defined by how much of your time you spend doing what you want. Now, I'll preface what I'm gonna say by saying that like I'm not here to pick an argument with like Meridian Webster or someone like that. Like I totally understand that if you look in the dictionary, like it defines it as wealth is how much stuff you have. Like totally agree. Not even gonna try to step into that argument. That is how the dictionary defines it. Um, but I'm speaking more in terms of uh, the way that lots of personal finance gurus will define wealth, since it's such a subjective thing, in my opinion it's really how much of your time you spend doing what you want. So I know that's kind of a jarring thing to say, but Alex, I know you had some initial thoughts on that.
yeah, I guess I'm kind of a traditionalist, and I think that yeah, I agree that wealth isn't the most important thing. I think what you're saying is, maybe a portion of what makes your life valuable is how much time you spend doing what you love to do. But I'm going to go ahead and say I think that what you're talking about is something different from wealth, right? When I
Hmm.
think of wealth, I think of how much money you have, how valuable you are as an employee, even, right? I mean, if I'm a doctor, even if I am in debt, right? I still have a medical degree, right? That's a form of wealth in a sense. But any sort of asset, right? An asset that leads to financial well-being, right?
Hmm.
So anyway, yeah, but I'm just very intrigued by your definition. So please continue.
Okay. Well, so I'm gonna start by turning into Professor Kush over here, and I'm
All
gonna I'm
right,
gonna give you the lecture I gave my brother last night.
Dr. Chopra
Um,
over
yeah,
there.
yeah, totally. And for anyone watching, just by the way, I'm 20. I am not wealthy, so not wealthy yet. So take
But
this
you
take
do
this with
you
a grain of
spend so
salt.
much you spend so much time doing what you love, so you are wealthy. See?
Yeah. So okay, let's. I'm putting up a chart, and for those of you who are just listening, that's fine. I'm gonna say all these things out loud, so you'll be able to hear. Uh, but the whole point of this chart, I'm calling it the cash flow quadrants chart. For any of you who have read the Robert Kiyosaki book, please don't roast me. I know this is not that. Like, just I like the name, so I'm just gonna use it. Okay. So I'm calling this the cash flow quadrant chart. And basically, with this, I'm going to shatter your worldview of what you think it means to be rich. Because many people think that being rich is all about having a high income and being some sort of specialist or some sort of C-suite, like having some sort of C-suite position, like being the CEO of a company. And that's just not how it works at all. So if you look at these quadrants, right, on this chart, we have like a box divided into these 4 quadrants. So one is the employee quadrant, one is the self-employed quadrant, one is the business owner quadrant, and one is the investor quadrant. And each of these quadrants represents where your primary cash flow is coming from. So where is the money coming from that you need to eat, right? Like let's say that you're like for example, you can be in the investor cash flow quadrant and uh, for fun like be a teacher, but the money coming in from being a teacher isn't what you need to eat, like what we need to live on, right? Does that make sense to you, Alex?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna keep asking you because like you're representing the viewers here, so
I
I'm gonna
am the people, the Vox
yeah.
Populi, right here.
So okay, so we have this chart now, right? And to kind of walk you through this, I'm gonna give a really simple example of let's just say that your favorite or let's say that you're a medical student, right? And you want to be a doctor, right? So is that a good example
That
to use?
sounds great. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's start this example with Alex is a medical student who wants to be wealthy one day, and he is starting his journey through life. Okay, so this is Dr. Marshall coming in. Okay, so the
MD,
first
not
place,
PhD.
yeah. So Dr. Marshall, MD. So first place you start out is in this employee cash flow quadrant right here. Okay, so as an employee, this is how money works for you. So you're an employee. You come in, you trade in your time for money for at a fixed amount. Okay. And what's really happening there is you come in as an employee, as a doctor, your first job, and you create four little of these dollars in wealth. Okay. And what happens when you create these four little dollars in wealth, these three of these right here, these go straight to the owner or owners, whoever. Okay. And then you get this one little one right here. So you created all these dollars in wealth. You got one. The owners got these three or $3 in value. Sorry. Okay. So this is how being an employee works. All right. Your owner gets a majority of the money because they invested money into you. So they need to get a return on their investment. And then you get a little bit of the money that you created.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Here's the next quadrant. Okay. Here's self employed. All right. Self-employed is simple. You create, you like, let's say you start a small little doctor's doctor's office practice. You're the only doctor there. So you're self-employed. You own your own thing, but you're the only one there. So now you basically become the owner. So what happens here? You create these $4 in value, and all four of these dollars go back to you. Okay. Do both of these make sense so far?
Great. So far, so good.
Okay. So this is this half of this thing. Employee works this way. You create $4 in wealth. Three of them go to the owner. One of them go back to you. Self-employed, you create $4 in wealth. All of it goes back to you. Okay,
Mhm.
that's that half. Now we get to the juicy half. Okay, this half. So the first quadrant right here is business owner. So when you're a business owner, you have employees, right? So now your doctor's office has grown. You no longer work as a doctor yourself. You no longer see patients, but you have these two doctors who see patients. So both of these doctors now, each by seeing patients, create $4 in value. Okay. And first thing that happens now that you're the owner is three from this guy and three from this woman,
Yeah, I understand.
three from your employees go to you first.
I
And
like the
you give them,
representation here. I like the representation.
yeah. And
We
you
are an
give them,
equitable workplace.
exactly. And you give them back $1 each. Now, you didn't see any patients. You didn't create any of the value, right?
Now I'm just chilling at home playing Minecraft with
Well,
Kush while he's
well,
lagging.
not exactly.
Ah,
Not
damn it.
exactly. Because you have to spend your time managing these people.
Ah,
Okay. But you didn't see any patients. Okay. And you earned six of these dollars and they earned
yeah, yeah,
one
yeah.
each.
I understand. I understand. Proceed.
Okay.
Proceed. We are a little bit short on time.
Yeah. So this might take up the whole segment, me
Okay.
explaining this, but it'll probably help for the next ones, hopefully.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So this is this cash flow quadrant right here. Okay. So this is what
Right.
it's like being a business owner. Okay. But here's the thing about being a business owner. When you're a business owner, you have employees who are people. Okay. And people only work 5 hours or they only work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, subtract holidays and extrapolate that out over a year. Okay.
Yeah, you got
And
like
people
2,000
need to be
hours.
managed. They need to be put in systems. The systems need to be managed, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Here's the last cash flow quadrant. All right. This is the investor one. So now, as an investor, rather than your employees being people, they're your dollars, right? So here we can take, like, let's say you're an investor, you have all these dollars. So you take these dollars, you put them in to a company. The company makes all of these dollars and then gives you back some dollars for doing nothing but handing them your dollars. And what's happening here is rather than you having to spend time managing these people, okay, your dollars are going to work, producing more dollars that can go to work, and they're going to work 24/7, 365. No need to be managed, no nothing. So,
This diagram reminds me of my time in the stock market because I put $3 in and got about $2 out. And the $3 didn't come back.
yeah. So yeah.
So
So
I'm just
that's a
saying
whole
they
different
do need to be
discussion.
managed. And
Well, that's
hopefully by someone who isn't as inept as me.
yeah. So what did you put your $3 in?
I honestly just shorted the market. I just did like a dumb
Mm.
Dow or no S&P 500 short when the market crashed. I thought the market would crash when COVID hit. I was like, oh, everyone's gonna have to stay at home. Of course, the market's gonna crash. Well, gee, the market just went up because rich companies really didn't care that COVID hit, and I didn't really think about that. And so, I mean, I didn't lose that much money, honestly, because fortunately, I was like, I'm stupid. I shouldn't put very much into the stock market, which really paid off.
Mhm.
So I didn't lose like a significant amount of money, but I mean, it was significant enough that I was like, "Ooh, okay, I should have
Yeah.
done that."
Well, one thing I do want to make a point before we move on to the next segment here, because I know I've eaten up a lot of time, but I don't want it all to be for nothing.
Of
I
course not.
had a point here. Okay.
Yes,
If
go
you
ahead.
notice, most people are taught how to do this really well, how to
Mhm.
be a good employee. And you can stay in this cash flow quadrant and become the CEO of a company and still be doing this. Okay. You might be making millions, but that doesn't make you wealthy. Okay. At least in my opinion, it doesn't. Because you're spending 13 hours a day, probably like 6, 7 days a week, running someone else's company. Okay. Getting back just this little token right here and making this person rich. Okay. And this person, or especially this person right here, the investor, once they build systems in which they can put in money and their average returns are positive, right? So not just let me throw some money at the stock market. Once I've spent decades building systems where I can put in my money and I in ways that, there's no guarantees, but in ways I can be fairly certain I'm going to get a return, then I don't have to worry about money anymore. Then I
Right.
can spend my time doing whatever I want to do. I want to go in the inner city and teach little kids how to write code. Sure. I want to move to Southeast Asia and build kindergartens. Go for it. I want to become a school teacher. What's stopping you?
I see. Yeah, that's
There's,
very
there's,
cool. Very
so
cool.
anyway, that I ate up that whole segment. Do you want
No,
to?
well, we're not. No one's gonna, the NKVD is not gonna come in here and shoot me or anything if I don't. Sorry, that's the Soviet Gestapo. Basically.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best cultural reference, but they're not going to come in here and get us if we go a little bit over.
Yeah.
So my point is, I just want to object that to the wealth is how much of your time you own definition, and I see what
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to do there, and I like it. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you get into territory where, let's say I'm a little kid or just a lazy dude who sits at home and smokes weed and plays video games all day, right? Like there's definitely a part of me that just wants to do that. Okay. Sounds pretty
Mm-hmm.
fun. And I own all my time, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm a toddler or a lazy dude and I have 168 hours a week that are mine to spend however I want to spend.
Mm-hmm.
I think isn't it 168 hours in a week? I
Yep.
can't remember.
Without factoring out sleep, it's 168.
Yeah, okay. I thought I remembered that right. And yeah, so I mean, wouldn't I be super wealthy then?
Mm-hmm. So let's take let's leave the toddler out because that's a bit different. Okay, we can get to
Fine.
that next. Let's take the guy who sits at home, smokes weed, and plays video games. Okay, how
Mm-hmm.
can you do that? How do you have a home? What's allowing you to do
I
it?
have I was run over by a truck in middle school and the settlement was ridiculous because the driver was intoxicated and as a result I'm set for life.
So you're not wealthy, being set for life?
Or maybe let's just fine. Let's just say that I'm super duper poor and live in government subsidized housing. And because I sit and play video games all day, my back really hurts. And so I get my government stipend every week. And so I just live off of like Cheeto dust and game all day and monster energy drinks. Okay.
Okay. So this is an interesting example. Okay.
Yes.
So you're getting enough money that you don't have to worry about money.
Right. Or my
And you're
mom.
getting
Maybe
it.
my mom's giving me money because she feels
Mhm.
bad that she raised such a failure of a son.
So you're getting enough money every month for doing nothing that you don't have to worry about money any longer.
Right. I mean, not that I'm living, maybe I'm living in like my upstairs, my bedroom, right?
But if you're
At my
happy
parents'
with
house.
that, if that's what you want to be doing with your time,
Yes. Yes.
is I mean,
I
what
have
more is there? What more is there? If that's it, if
I
that's what
have
you
reached
want,
the pinnacle. I have reached the pinnacle of wealth.
that's what I'm saying. Like
Bathing in my
that's
Cheeto dust and playing Dota until the wee hours of the morn.
yeah.
I that's see I and I would also say this, right? Wealth is something that is right. I would say wealth is like kind of something that helps you out in life, right? I mean, for
Hmm.
instance, and this kind of this is almost a transition into our next thing. So you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and let you go
Yeah.
ahead and
You
go on to the next
why don't
episode.
we
Or the
lap
next,
this
yeah.
one and start the
Go
next one?
ahead. Yeah, go ahead and start the next one.
All
Because
right.
honestly, I think that I'm just talking about the next one. So go ahead.
Yeah, you why don't you kick this off because I'm not really sure what you meant by the
Oh
success
gosh.
mindset.
Okay. Yeah. So well, I mean, I remember it was something you said you wanted to talk about, where like you think that most people don't really have a lot of people don't have what you called the success mindset in your outline, right? Which was like, I want to, 99% of people don't have this, right? And 1% of people do.
Okay, I know what you're
That's what I
talking
remember.
about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. I did not call it the success mindset. I would
I'm
there
sorry. I'm sorry.
I would vomit from my own cringiness at myself if I called it success mindset.
I apologize. I
That's
read what
fine
you
though.
said and I just summed it up in 2 words that were probably cringy. See, the thing is, I'm not really aware of the cringe because like I haven't read any books that like have anything to do
Yeah,
with said things. So
yeah. So I guess thank you for kicking that off, and then I'll just add my bit in, and then we can go
absolutely.
because I know you had something to say about this too. But I
Yeah.
believe what I was saying is that uh, again this is speculative, but it's meant to be a bit provocative to like get people to like think about what the message is really. So I'm going to use numbers. So what I was saying there is that 99% of people are consumed by their own cynicism, and that's why you stop and you complain and you judge like rather than actually putting something into action, right? And then the other like 1% is well, like rather than sitting here and saying, oh, this won't work, these are the statistics, this is the this is the that, how do you make it work? Like let's stop making statements that close our mind, start asking questions, open it up, and think about, okay, how do we make this thing work? That was kind of what I was going for there, but I think you have something to add in.
I do absolutely. I think that this kind of ties into wealth because oftentimes the people who you're talking about who are I think the people who you're referring to by people who, when you say, people who don't waste time making excuses, right, are people who have a lot of wealth,
Hmm.
as I would define it, right? Perhaps not as you would define it, but a lot of resources, let's just say instead, a lot of resources, financial and otherwise, to throw at their problems, right? If I'm Warren Buffett, right, I can assign a task force to go handle whatever I want to, right? I can
Hmm.
have a panel of experts review it and I can make a good decision, right? For my stock market investments, I have mathematical models, I have a bunch of other things, right? If I'm Alexander Marshall, who is investing in the stock market, he just got sent home from Wake Forest for COVID and he's worried and kind of feels like the world may or may not be ending, really isn't quite sure what's going on. We don't really
Hmm.
be able to see his girlfriend again. I have just a sense of doom coming, and I'm like, well, the stock market must also feel that sense of doom, and I
Hmm.
invest. Right now, I'm not saying, of course, that was my own mistake and whatnot, but I'm just using it as an example, right? Warren Buffett has a lot more resources, right? And it wasn't necessarily a mindset where I was doubting myself. In fact, I was
Hmm.
absurdly confident of my ability to short the market successfully, which is why I invested money.
Hmm.
But normally I'm not a betting man, but I felt very confident. And
Hmm.
then, Warren Buffett, on the other hand, has a team of analysts that say, okay, well, don't short the market. That would be stupid because this mathematical model. See what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I don't know that it's a mindset thing. I think that maybe, I mean, maybe I was just in the 1%, but unfortunately I was in the stupid 1%. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know.
That I have so much to say. I'm okay. I'm gonna pop. I don't know if this bubble is there, but I'm hearing it and I hear it a lot. So I'm gonna make the statement that I'm gonna pop your bubble really quick.
Okay,
Okay.
go for it.
Many people, when they look at investing, they think investing is where the shitloads of money just come in, right? And they try to treat it like that. Like let me be honest with you. Okay. If you're investing in the stock market over 20 years, you're not going to beat the market. No,
Yeah,
nobody
yeah.
beats the market. 1% of hedge fund managers who go to Harvard and MIT beat the market, and they even beat it by like 3, 4%. Okay.
Jeez. Yeah.
No one beats the market in 20 years. So that money that you lost shorting the market, that wasn't investing, that was gambling. And of course you lost because you were gambling, you weren't investing. And people like Warren Buffett, he puts his money to work mostly in the stock market, right? But you got to look at it like this. For example, Warren Buffett's a big proponent of Coca-Cola, and I think he owns like $400 million worth of shares of Coca-Cola or something. And Coca-Cola is a company they've kind of reached, their market potential. They have their whole thing. So they're really there to pay out dividends to all of their owners, okay? Because
four
I
hundred
mean,
million dollars. My
he
God.
yeah, he owns 400 million in Coke, I'm pretty sure. Okay. And so if you look at that, right, and you say that, hey, like even if their dividend yield per year is 3%, okay, which I think is a pretty fair dividend yield for a high dividend yielding
Sure, sure,
stock,
go for it. Yeah.
okay, that's $12 million a year he's getting from putting his 400 million in. Okay. But
Mhm.
let me ask you a question, right? Because we're kind of conflating investing and wealth and saying it's the same thing, and some people get lucky and win these bets. Okay. Where do you get the $400 million from?
I have no idea. I'm uneducated in this area.
Berkshire Hathaway. Okay. And
Okay.
Berkshire Hathaway is what?
A hedge fund, if I'm not
It's
mistaken.
it's a business. Okay.
Yes, it is a business. Yes, yes.
He became a business owner
It
and
is a hedge fund, though,
created,
right? Isn't it a hedge fund?
I could be wrong. But I okay. Well, I haven't studied Warren Buffett's life, so I could be wrong. But the point that I'm getting at, okay, is that in order to get that capital, you have to create a substantial amount of value for the world. Okay,
Yes.
that's the only way to get the capital that fast to be able to do those things.
Right.
Okay. You don't just like have a team of analysts at day one and start, go out and start putting money here and there, and then you win a few bets and you get lucky. You put your head down and you work and really, for most people, it comes down to building a company and creating a lot of value for the world through doing that. And you get your capital through creating value for people, usually through a company, if that makes sense.
Yes. And by the way, just to answer our question, I did Wikipedia it. And Berkshire Hathaway basically owns like, okay, Geico, Duracell, Dairy Queen, BNSF, I don't know what that is. Lubrizol, I don't know what that is either. Fruit of the Loom, Hellsberg Diamonds, which I actually went and visited today. Long and Foster, Flight Safety International, Pampered Chef, Forest River, NetJets, and Pilot Flying J, which is like a gas station. And then a bunch of Kraft and American Express and Coca-Cola and Bank of America and Apple.
Yeah, that's actually it's a very long list.
That is a very, I
But
just sorry to list all that off, but that was kind of
no,
insane to me.
that's yeah.
I
No,
was like,
it is
whoa.
insane. But here,
Anyway,
let me give you another example, right?
yes.
Like what I'm talking about is so you hear like stories like let me take an extreme one, okay? Because there's less extreme examples too. But like let's take Elon Musk, right?
Right.
When the guy was building like PayPal, I think, or whatever company he built with his brother, he had nothing. He
Right.
rented out a small office and him and his brother lived on the couch. They switched off, who was using the Wi-Fi or something or using the computer. Like, but they went for it. They were in the 1% who didn't sit there and think, oh, but the odds, oh, but this, oh, but that. They went for it. And if some, and all these things, like there's lots of failures that happen. And they didn't just stop when the failures came. They said, oh, what can we learn from this? How do we do this thing better? Pick yourself up and keep going. And that's
Absolutely.
that's that's the 1% that I'm talking about, because 99% of people want to sit there and say, "Oh, but the odds, oh, but 1 in 10, oh, but I could fail. Failure is so scary. If I fail, I'm never going to try again. Oh, but this, oh, but that." No, like get off your ass and just do it.
Just
That's what I'm
do
talking
it.
about.
Just do it.
No, I'm being serious. Like
I know, I
it's
know, I know, I
you
know.
know,
I couldn't help myself. I
yeah.
understand it. I agree with you. I mean, and I think that I think we kind of agree on the fact that a lot of people kind of opt for safety, right? And I think that's a mistake, right? I mean, I could
Yeah.
say the same thing about most people who major in physics never become a professor, never become a PhD, right? I'm going for it anyway, right? I think that our lives are deterministic, right? I don't think I'm not a statistic, right? A statistic applies to populations, not to people. You know what I'm saying? And each individual person is very different, and it's a very different situation. You can't apply to statistics to individuals. So I agree with you, and I think that people who are scared off by daunting odds, right, which may or may not really apply to them,
Hmm.
are, I think you're right. I think that people need to invest in what they want to do, and whether that be founding PayPal and becoming a billionaire, or
Yeah.
making a philosophical podcast, or going to college, even, or running a marathon, whatever I think people need to invest in it. I agree.
Yeah.
Get that kind of
And
crazy
beyond
in your
that,
eye and keep going after it. Yeah.
yeah, and beyond that too, it's like, again, I keep bringing up the word cynicism because like so many of us have this feeling, right? And it's a universal feeling that we're like the most important like there's something unique about us. We're the most important person in the world. We're like we were meant to do something. Like everyone talks about like all these
Oh,
people
hold on,
like
hold on,
Gary
hold on. I just want to
Vaynerchuk.
make it clear. I'm the main character of this story. Okay. You're just a side
Yeah,
character.
exactly. Everyone has the feeling. Every single
Yeah.
person has that feeling. But the problem is when you let it consume you and then you look at opportunities that come along and you're like, "Oh, but I'm too good for that. Oh, but this is just a side. This would never work. This is great.
Mm-hmm.
This is not big enough. This is you just become cynical and you sit in a room and you hear someone passionate about something, you're just like, "Ah, it's just it's like a random thing." And
Mm-hmm.
you start rejecting all these opportunities that are coming your way, and I think that's a big factor in failing is just rejecting the sea of opportunities you're constantly like swimming in.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, yeah. I mean, I think a sea of opportunities is sometimes a good way to put it. And of course, I want to be clear though. A lot of people don't have these opportunities, and I think this is kind of a good time to share. I grew up next to this guy. I don't think I haven't mentioned my neighbor before on stream, have I?
Not on here, no.
Okay, cool. I want to make sure because I tell this story a lot. This guy, Mr. Fred Dancy, personal big hero of mine. He is this black guy who grew up in I think the 1940s in like an inner city slum. I mean, that's like not the right word for it, but I don't know what else to call it. I mean, he grew up in pretty poor conditions. His parents had jobs and everything, but they were like minimum wage workers. And he's told me he grew up surrounded. I mean, a lot of his friends and stuff were in gangs and stuff. I mean, he was in stereotypical like predominantly minority slum of that time, right, with racism and everything else kind of beating down on him. And the guy chose, instead of going and joining a gang or getting a job or whatever, not that those are equivalent at all, but he chose to go in the military. Okay, cool. Like he actually joined at 16, which was illegal. And he went and he was going to fight in the Korean War, but fortunately he got stationed in a non-combat job. And this whole time he decided to start taking classes. Instead of just going to his duties, he started taking classes. And so this guy was taking classes. And he got his GED, he got his high school equivalency, which was a big deal because no one from his neighborhood really graduated from high school, right? And again, I'm not like being racist or something by saying that. I'm saying this is what the guy said is like most of his friends and stuff didn't make anything of themselves, right? And I'm not saying that's their fault. I'm saying he chose to do these things, and that's exceptional, right? But it was his choice, right? And any of them could have made this choice, and he made it in particular and did great things. He went on to go to college at night school, and then he got a job at this like physics institute. I think it was the Marine Research Lab, if I'm not mistaken. And he went on to go to graduate school, get his master's degree because they wanted him to, because he ended up being like this total statistics genius. I still have no idea what the guy's talking about, and he's like 80 something years old. His mind is just crazy quick. And he ended up working there for like a few decades and helping develop the GPS system. And he's got like a plaque signed by the president he's real proud of, and he used to show it to me when I was a little kid. And of course I was like, whoa. Anyway, really cool guy. And I think that those are a result of personal choices. And yeah, of course, we need to give more opportunities to people like him and opportunities to people in general who are, unfairly oppressed and don't have economic opportunities. And that's kind of my socialist side. I want
Mhm.
more opportunities for inner city kids like Mr. Dancy, right? So he doesn't have to take this roundabout route. He can just go straight to college, right? And have the
Mhm.
support he needs, and maybe have his family make a little bit more money, so there's not as many problems in his neighborhood and stuff, right? But my point in bringing up this story is he made those choices, right? It wasn't like magic. He didn't just wake up one day and he had done all these great things. He made those choices one step at a time. And honestly, I mean, the guy's amazing. I mean, he's older now, but he still reads all the time. He spends his free time playing Flight Simulator, which is really cool. It's like a little flight simulator like control setup. But anyway, I think that, yeah. And it doesn't, I just want to say, I don't think success has to be making billions of dollars or anything like that. I think it can be finding something you love and chasing that thing in spite of the odds, and kind of defying the
Owning your time,
what.
owning your time,
Yeah, owning your
doing
time.
what you
Exactly.
love.
He
Yeah,
he did what he loved, and
full circle.
I mean, I gotta say that guy's been influential, right? He kind of got me into physics when I was a little kid, and I look up to the guy, honestly. Really
Yeah,
amazing. One of those people you think, wow, I want to be like that, in some way. So
yeah. Well,
anyway,
I know we're at 14 minutes on this
yes, we
one,
are. We
so
are. We are
we
terrible
can.
at following our schedules.
That's all
Let's
right.
move on.
We can hop though into
But yeah, so I wanted to say real quick, I think I'm a little bit surprised with how much I agreed with you. I was kind of like, well, gosh, I really think his position's kind of, a little bit weird here, but actually I think we kind of are on the same page. Again, I think that maybe we could call it something other than wealth. But
yeah.
it's kind of a matter of
I've
arguing over
just been
words.
indoctrinated by all the people I've been listening to for the
Aren't
last
we all? Aren't we
several
all?
hours. Yeah.
Okay, so lap. There we go. All right, next topic. So how much? So Kushagra, now we can probably make this a little bit brief. What do you think? And we've talked about this before to a certain degree, but I thought it was a good time to bring it up because we just talked about wealth and success and all that, right? And
Yeah.
of course, wealth, as you defined it, and we'll just use your definition. Um, so maybe how much money is too much, right? So, to what
Mhm.
degree do you think, for instance, wealth is tied to money, right? Like our financial well-being.
Mhm. Well, I'm gonna give this as an example. I know no one cares about like me personally. I'm just gonna give me as an example to answer this question, right?
Go for it.
If you asked me in terms of like monetarily what my goals are,
Mhm.
right? My answer would be to be a billionaire. Okay. Like that's what I'm aiming to do. Okay. And look, I hate defining things in terms of titles or awards or achievements. And even the billionaire is kind of off. Like I don't really care if it's in the hundred, like if I have like in the hundreds of millions or billions, it wouldn't really matter to me. But there's a reason why. Okay. And I'm going about this in a really roundabout way because you hear a lot of people say, oh, I want to be a billionaire. I want to be worth $100 million. It's like, why? Well, I'd have cool shit. I wouldn't have to worry about money, this and that. Yeah, but you could do that, with being a millionaire and cash flowing like 10 grand a month or 20 grand a month or even, like 50, 60 grand a month. I mean, it seems like a pretty comfortable life, like no need to be a billionaire. So again, to answer the question though, like just giving myself as an example, why would I want to be a billionaire? Because what I want to do with my time is to be able to go out and create social change with the people who are trying to do it. Like I want to get to a point in my life where I can go out and find all these companies that are doing really cool things that create true value for the world, like really innovative things that are bringing tons of value to the world. And I want to say, hey, I love what you're doing. We're going to make this a big thing together. I'm going to help, bring you to market or like, help you IPO, whatever. But I want to be one of those people that's doing that. So I think it's a very subjective thing, like how much wealth is too much, because the people that are out there doing that, like if you study them, I mean, they're driving tons of social change and they're flipping the way that I see of your reaction. So I'm just wrapping up,
Oh, no, 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 you're
but
fine. You're fine. I was just stretching. No, 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 you're good. Keep going.
yeah, but just anyway,
My
I'll
back
wrap up.
just
I know I've
look.
been
My back is
talking.
just sore today. I don't know why. I've been having back problems this week. Go ahead. Continue.
That's
Sorry.
fine. I've been talking for the last minute and a half, but basically, I think that it's kind of a very broad question because how much wealth is too much? It's like, well, what do you want to do with the money? Like, are you doing something that's going to create value and really fulfill you, or do you just want it because you want to go buy a yacht? Because I mean, it's a very different story.
I 100% agree. And I think that my main objection to people having a ridiculous amount of wealth, for instance, Jeff Bezos, right, or some of those people like that who
Hmm.
hoard their wealth and then kind of waste it in a way, right? They're not investing in, I don't know, drinking water for underprivileged children in Africa or something, okay, and in Zimbabwe or whatever. I don't know if Zimbabwe has good water, but I don't think they have great water. Um, or education and a safe place for inner city kids to go after school in crime ridden areas. Okay. Um,
Hmm.
I don't see Jeff Bezos doing those things. I see him buying a lot of nice things for himself and investing in his companies and making more money for himself. And that's not something I think is necessarily acceptable, right? Because when someone commands that level of wealth, right? When someone commands that, it gives them a certain level of power. And I thought it was interesting, by the way, because when you talked about wealth, you didn't talk about the nice things, which I respect. I think it's very good that you're not,
Because those things don't matter. That's what matters is what you're doing every day.
I
Where is your
absolutely
time
agree.
going?
Yeah, yeah.
That's my
What
whole.
difference are
That's
you
I
making in the
like.
world?
I'm like a parrot for that. Like,
I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you. And I think that you're not trying to launch the USS Chopra or anything. Okay, you're trying to make a difference in the world, make a change, make cool new things that help humanity. That's awesome. That's a great way to spend your wealth, and I'm not opposed to that. Um, but I think that in a certain sense, what you're pursuing there is power, because of what you're saying is you want a way to influence the world and change the world in a way you want to see better. And that's also something that scares me about wealth, not because I think that per se you would use it badly, right? If I gave you $1 billion, I'm sure the world would become a better place, right? You'd probably keep a couple million and have a nice time and, make sure you were independently wealthy for the rest of your life and use the other billion to make changes that you thought were good, right? And I'd probably agree with most of the changes you made. But at the same time, it's scary because you get people who are unelected officials who have a few $1 billion, like
mhm.
Elon Musk, like Jeff Bezos, right? Like Bill Gates, or as all the conservative news outlets would say, and all the QAnon people, George I don't know how to say his last name, Soros. I don't know, right? The
It doesn't
guy,
matter.
he's like the subject of all the, QAnon conspiracy theories. They all think he's like running some sort of weird world order or something.
Mhm.
But like in a sense, there's people who are like, whoa, George Soros, whatever, is scary. Like I'm not to say anything against George, that guy in particular, but the amount of power that those people have just by making a great deal of money without having some sort of elected office, right? I mean,
Mhm.
they can change policies in a way that you and I can't, right? They've kind of transcended voterdom with that, or citizenship, right? They're not like citizens anymore. They're like officials elected by their money. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm. Well,
Um,
I think so. Three things there.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
want to go back and address. Which, by the way, I don't mean to say that I wasn't listening to what you're saying. I was, and
No, no, go
I
ahead.
yeah. But so first with the Jeff Bezos, I'm not an expert on his life, but I do believe he has like a charity to his name that he donates to. I don't know. I know he does a lot outside of Amazon though. I do know
Him
that.
donating a
But
few $1 million to
no,
charities like me giving my pocket change to like
okay,
a homeless
I don't
dude,
know what
like
he's
a
in his
nickel.
personal life, but I was just gonna throw it out there
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah. Go
case,
ahead.
But okay, and the next, so number two thing that I was gonna say that there's this guy who I really like to follow, like his name. Okay, he says it like really American, and I apologize for all the other South Asian people out there because I promise I'm not trying to say this to be whitewashed, but he pronounces his name like Chamath Palihapitiya, which I know is very not the South Asian way of saying it. But
I didn't notice.
he's like he's been a really silently influential person in Silicon Valley, and he's brought like tons of these cool technologies to life, and he's been focused more on bringing those technologies to the stock, like bringing those companies to the stock market, helping them IPO. Okay, and he has a famous speech where he talks about if you throughout your life find yourself in a position where you believe that you have a worldview that matters, a worldview that's really going to make the world a better place, he says you owe it to the world, not to yourself, not to whoever. You owe it to the world to go out, get the capital, and put your worldview in place. And he says, like, I mean, he talks about there's very few people who can do it, but you owe it to the world to go out there and do it if you believe that you have a worldview that matters, right? And then the last thing I'll say is, I mean, we're talking about unelected officials, and I totally get that all these billionaires, they wield more power than anyone else in the country. Like politicians are puppets. We vote for them, but they're really just puppets for all the billionaires. Um, and like, we're talking about unelected, and it kind of makes it seem like these guys are just dictators who have somehow thrown themselves in there in positions of power. But what I'll say is I think that the reason these people are rich is because we've all voted with our dollars who we believe has created the most value. That's the reason that these people have become wealthy, because they've built products and services that we all find valuable, and we gave them money for it because we felt like they were the ones creating the most value, solving the problems we needed solved. um, and that's the reason they're in those positions. And again, I'm sure there's exceptions. Like there's Donald Trump who gets a loan for $1 million from his dad. Not everyone gets that, but I mean, you got to look at the richest person in the country, like Elon Musk. I mean, the guy came up to the point where he's at because of all the value he's created.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But I think most of the top 0.1% is pretty static, right? There's some ultra rich people who got there because of their merits, but a lot of them are just there because they've been there. You know what I mean? The
It's
Rockefellers, right? Those people, the family's still around under some name, right? They didn't lose their money, right? Once you get that much money, you have
yeah,
so many, right? You have so many options. You have so many lines of credit. You have things you can go back on, right? So even if you make stupid decisions and do bad things, right? Once you get established like that, it's really hard to fall. You know what I mean?
that's true.
It's kind of like a country. You think of like a country, right? It's really hard. And I apologize. I'm gonna use the old system of third world, second world,
That's fine.
first world. But like the U.S., right? The U.S. has made tons of stupid financial policies, right? And they've done a lot of dumb things, and we're really far in debt. Why aren't we going to go down? Why aren't we going to have now if some other country, let's say Greece, for instance, right? Greece had a bunch of debt, right? Why couldn't Greece recover from it like the U.S. is doing fine with our crushing amount of debt? Well, because Greece doesn't have the lines of equity and the credit that the U.S. has. Greece doesn't have the military. Greece doesn't have the power, right? Right. The same thing. If I go into debt, right, I'm screwed, right? But if Bill Gates goes into debt, he's gonna be fine, right? He'll borrow $1 billion from various different financial institutions and climb his way back out, right? So it's one of those things that, like, once you establish yourself like that, or Bill Gates' 80th grandson, okay, whatever, like some descendant down the line. So anyway, I think you kind of see what I'm saying. It's like it's a little bit of a. I think any sort of capitalist system is necessarily unfair, and that's an unfortunate symptom of the system. But I don't think you can get around it. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah,
Because
it's
whoever's at the
definitely
top
it's
is going to stay at the top unless they screw up really bad. See what I'm saying?
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely. I actually I appreciate that. That's actually an interesting viewpoint, because I wasn't speaking in terms of families holding money or
Right,
anything like
right,
that.
and
Um,
yeah, yeah. That's something I've noticed, and in wealthy people I've known, right? I know some wealthy people, and man, a lot of them barely graduated high school,
well,
and they're
that's a
not.
different debate. That's a very different debate, because that's a whole thing that Gary Vee talks about, where he talks about how why do you see all of these A students working for C students? Like, why do you see people who
Right.
go to Harvard and MIT working for high school dropouts? And that's a whole debate about, well, like, the Harvard MIT kids were programmed, hey, do your tasks, and they won that system. And the ones who are getting C's and D's were forced to realize, hey, there's something more to life than school. And that's a whole separate. We could have a different episode about that, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Like,
anyway, yeah, okay. So we'll kind of call it there, but I think that was really good talk.
yeah. And
And
I
yeah, I think.
apologize for doing so much talking this week.
Oh no, that was kind of what we wanted, I think, right? We wanted some push time. So yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
a great session. Yeah. So anyway, I guess we can, if you're ready. Did you want to add anything else?
Uh, I did not. I'm good to go ahead and start the outro.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening in. We really had a great time talking about what wealth is and kind of defining it in different lights. And yeah, I think we all agree that the dictionary definition of wealth is money, but Kushagra and I kind of agree with what he's saying. There's a lot more important things than money. I think is what we can definitely agree on. Um, and yeah, I think that the ultimate power is, I think we both agree, right? That the ultimate power is choice, right? You can be born into an unfortunate situation and make the right choices and come out of it in a very fortunate situation. And go through a lot of things and come out on top. And of course, you can also start off on top, and through a series of unfortunate choices, go to the bottom. And people oftentimes, I think, underestimate how much their choice their choices have in their life, which is, I think, that's kind of what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And
Maybe I'm being a little bit generality here, glittering generalities.
that's
And
fine. I
then,
mean, we just kind of wanted
yeah,
to wrap it
yeah.
up with a summary.
And then, How much wealth is too much? Well, yeah, we disagree on this, right? Shark was like, well, no much, you've earned it. And I'm like, well, once you start, for instance, if you can censor the president of the United States, even if it's the right thing to do, okay, it's kind of scary to me, because no one elected you that position, right? Or appointed you, no elected official appointed you or anything. So anyway, but I think we had a great time, and so
Yeah. I had a
are
great
you?
time too. I loved participating in this, and I love hearing your viewpoint also. I always love talking about this, so I could talk nonstop.
Me too.
But anyway, just kind of we hope that you guys really enjoyed today's video. And actually, if you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to grab your $50 billion, all in pennies, and absolutely smash that like button,
Oh no.
just to help us out, help out our videos with the algorithm. And also, if you want to stay up to date with all your favorite Winston Boys content, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way, every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification, and you click on it, it'll take you right to the video. You can just watch it while you're cooking, cleaning, driving, whatever. Actually, don't watch it, listen to it. If you're driving. But anyways, we'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.